Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Assassin Creed Odyssey. Now, I wanted to do a video following up on the previous video that I did where I had a couple of criticisms that I did towards the game Assassin Creed Odyssey, and I also wanted to follow up on a comment that I saw being posted on Twitter by a Kotaku staffer, and we're going to be addressing those two things in this video. So the very first thing is there was apparently a couple of people that are of the opinion that the future of single-player video games that cost $60 up front is that they should be riddled with microtransactions, and that this is acceptable and that this is fine. And let me tell you right now that you will never, ever get me to agree with that opinion. No single-player game with a $60 price up front should ever have the kinds of microtransactions that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has. That should never, ever be the case, because that is what you're paying the $60 for. You're paying the $60 for the product. You know, when you have a free-to-play game where you're not paying that $60 price up front, that is where you can put all of those predatory microtransactions in. That is where you can put all of those XP boosts and all of those coin boosts. I mean, the mere concept that a single-player game is going to have a buff that lasts for 2 hours, and there's not even a clear explanation of whether or not those 2 hours count if you pause the game, because it's a single-player game. You know, you play a single-player game, and depending on your real-life obligations, you don't know if you're going to be playing for 2 hours straight. And therefore, you don't know if, like, all of a sudden, oh, I got this boost that I want to use. If I pause the game, do I get to keep the boost? Do I not? It's not even explained. You don't even fucking know. So it's like, I'm sorry, XP boost, especially when you even have the permanent XP boost, which we need to get into with a little bit more detail further on in the video. It's just, you cannot expect us to just take that lying down. And you will never get me to accept that kind of microtransactions in a video game, because I just don't. I just don't. I didn't like the fact that they did that shit on Need for Speed. I didn't like the fact that they did that shit on Battlefront 2. I thought it was ridiculous because you paid full price for those games. And there's more. There's a bunch of more games that have this shit going on. And then there's people that will say, oh, but Rurikhan, there's the $60 thing, and you know, and games now cost a lot to develop and all of this thing. And look, it's very easy for me to just straight up throw it to your face. Two super easy examples, and you probably already know which games I'm going to be talking about, which is God of War and Spider-Man. Two games that don't have any of this ridiculous microtransaction nonsense. They're single-player games. They're highly profitable for the developers that created them, and they're doing fine. And they didn't need any of this bullshit. And I know what your reply is going to be. You guys are going to come back at me, and you're going to say, oh, but Rurikhan, those are first-party titles. They're console exclusives. Sony has a vested interest. Sony has put money in those games. Okay, then I'm going to give you another game that doesn't do that, is a third-party game. It is the most successful game that that company has done to date, and it doesn't do any of this predatory bullshit. And then I don't want to hear any talk back from anyone. Okay? It's Monster Hunter World. One of the most successful games even on my channel. That game does not do any kind of predatory microtransactions. There's no experience boosts. There's no loot boxes. There's no crazy nonsense like the stuff you have in Assassin's Creed Odyssey or any of the other games that use this kind of predatory microtransactions. There's none of that in Monster Hunter World. There's only cosmetic microtransactions. And the cool thing about Monster Hunter World is that despite the fact that there are cosmetic microtransactions, so therefore you'd figure, you know, Capcom is going to be incentivized not to give people cosmetic items so that they actually, you know, go into the store and buy the cosmetic stuff. No! Some of the best cosmetic looking stuff, you actually get it in-game. So the store complements the game, not the other way around. So despite the fact that the only microtransactions in Monster Hunter World are cosmetic, you can still get really cool cosmetic shit in-game without actually buying it. And there is nothing, literally nothing, that affects gameplay that you can buy for real money. in Monster Hunter World. And you know what the net result of that is? It is Capcom's most successful game to date. So tell me more about how video games need all these microtransactions to be successful unless they're a first-party title. Tell me more about that. I want to hear about it. And while you tell me all of these things in the comment section, let's talk about that Kotaku staffer that I wanted to talk about. Here's my take. I've spent 25 hours with Assassin Creed Odyssey so far, and 1, it's phenomenal. 2, I've never once noticed or thought about the XP booster or microtransactions. That probably wouldn't make for much of a YouTube video though. I don't know why he starts railing up on YouTube. I'm assuming that some YouTuber made a video about his take and, you know, it broiled his feathers or whatever the expression is, ruffled his feathers, and he's upset. Then he goes on to say it's sad how YouTube facilitates this culture of where people toss around words like exploitative and predatory without really thinking about what they mean. Assassin's Creed Odyssey's microtransactions are at worst annoying. They're not a cancer in the video game industry. Well, Jason, allow me to respectfully disagree with you and just straight up tell you that it is exactly what they are. You either go free to play and you can have all the microtransactions you want in the world, or you go $60 and you shouldn't even get cosmetic microtransactions, but some of us are willing to accept cosmetic microtransactions, so long as you at least give us some cosmetic options in the final product as well. But ultimately, you shouldn't even do the cosmetic stuff because you don't need it. You don't need it. It's been proven time and time again that this is not needed throughout multiple videos. I'm not going to get into that. You just have to go look up a bunch of Jim Sterling stuff and you will find like all the data that you need to show you that they don't need this. They can just get more money for it. That's just the way it goes. Same thing with EA, same thing with a lot of other companies. Anyways, then goes on and he found like four really cancerous YouTube comments. I'm not going to glorify those by showing them here. And it's like, look, Jason, if you want to go find bad YouTube comments, I can scroll through my comments timeline and I'll probably find like 10 of these within the next 5 minutes. It's just an exercise in futility. You've been working on the internet for how long? Is that the first time that you've seen these comments and you've only seen them on YouTube? I'm going to have to go ahead and doubt the veracity of you saying something like that. Okay? I don't believe that you've only got these kinds of comments on YouTube. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, then he goes on to bring up the previous thing that I said. The alternative is games costing $70 to $80. Budgets have gone up exponentially while prices have remained static. Something's got to give. We already talked about this, but let me go a little bit deeper into this. So this game of yours, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, costs $60, huh? Well, that's a standard edition, which at this point we're getting dangerously close to the point where standard editions are almost demos. Okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. They're not demos. But still, the standard version costs $6, but Digital Deluxe is already the $80 that you're talking about. Then there's the Gold Edition, that's $99. Then there's the Ultimate Edition, that's $120. Then there's the Spartan Collector Edition, that's $159. And the Pantheon Collector's Edition, that's $219. So one of the editions of this game is $60. Why do they feel the need to sell you all of this stuff? And here's the thing. Here's what really bothers me, okay? If it was just the cosmetic shit that you can get on the store, wouldn't even bother me all that much. But the fact that there's an XP boost, a gold boost, or drachmi boost, or whatever the hell you want to call it, permanent, by the way, which is completely ridiculous. And to top it off, there's also the map thing where you basically unlock something that tells you where all the chests and all the legendary items are in the game. I mean, come on. Come on, dude. That's unreasonable. In my opinion, that's just straight up unreasonable. You can't expect us to just, you know, oh yeah, there's a permanent XP boost in the game. What the? It's a free-to-play game at that point. It can't cost $60. Anyways, as I was saying, I've spent 25 hours with Assassin's Creed Odyssey so far. It's phenomenal. Never once noticed or thought about the XP booster or microtransactions. Okay. You've never once noticed it, huh? So there's this person here that says, well, Shadow of War showed that making a game around monetizing SP elements didn't feel good, and eventually changed it up. I don't expect this one to change, however, I'd still like to know how you are playing the game. Were you provided said boosts? I don't know if any of them were included in the edition I got, but I know I haven't activated any experience boosts. Okay, Jason, so let's go through your statements here. I've never once noticed or thought about the XP booster or microtransactions. I don't actually know if any of them were included in the edition I got. So, you don't know if you actually have these boosters already activated on your game. Okay. We have someone here on Twitter that says, if it was from Ubi, pretty sure it still had the boosts. All codes they gave out were $100 gold edition, experience, skills, and drachma. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know who this person is. He doesn't have that many followers, so I don't know. Either way, if it is true, and all the codes they gave out already had the XP boost, you wouldn't have to have activated anything because you get the code for the digital whatever and it gets activated automatically when you put that up on the PlayStation Store or on the Ubisoft Store if you're playing on PC or on the Xbox Store, and that stuff gets applied automatically when you begin to play the game. And that's where things get interesting, because if you then scroll up, you have this person here, Mitch Dyer is scared. This person is apparently a writer for Star Wars Battlefront 2. And he says, it's Dead Space 3 again. Helpful acceleration, completely optional, and inessential. But there's a useless blow-up about exploitation. I bought the time saver happily. You really didn't need to. I'm sorry, Jason. I thought you didn't know. Make up your mind. You either know that you have the boosts or you know that you don't have the boosts. Because if you do have the boosts and you're making these kinds of statements, you're basically lying and you basically don't know. So you need to look into it. Like, I'm being honest here. You need to look into whether or not your edition has these boosts. And by the way, some people have been claiming that I'm being purposefully unbiased towards Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I don't understand why. Because I was hyped about the game. I'm still going to play the game. I was just extremely disappointed with my initial experience of it. But anyway, since I'm the one being biased, let's get another website, Polygon. These guys usually tend to side with Kotaku a whole lot. Let's see what they have to say about this Assassin's Creed XP boost nonsense. Assassin's Creed Odyssey's best feature costs an additional $10. Permanent XP boost makes Assassin's Creed Odyssey a better game. It's not me saying it, it's Chris Plante from Polygon. An optional mode in Assassin's Creed Odyssey makes the daunting journey of Ubisoft's latest open-world adventure markedly more accessible for the folks like me who can't sink 15 hours into a game before it really gets good. It allows the player to quickly experience the game's novel and inventive upgrades while doing away with the grind that even the most enthusiastic critics have cited as an irritating blight. Unfortunately, Odyssey's creators have burdened the mode with a price tag and the stigma that comes with it. Named Permanent XP Boost, the option is purchasable through Odyssey's in-game digital storefront. It is found under the Time Savers tab, a winking label that read cynically all but concedes that the vanilla game doesn't value your time as best it could. For 1,000 Helix credits, the Permanent XP Boost gives the player 50% extra experience points for the remainder of the campaign. Accumulated XP raises the hero's level, and with each level they receive ability points that can be spent to unlock not just the best combat moves that Odyssey has to offer, but a number of quality of life settings that make for a more enjoyable experience. So Chris Plante right here, who I'm assuming is playing the game, specifically just said the game is better if you get the XP booster. So it's not even just me saying it, and I'm sure that we can find more testimonials like this if I look throughout the internet. I've seen plenty of Twitter posts of people claiming that the game feels extremely grindy, and I'm not surprised because that is what you do. And I understand that a lot of people that commented on my previous video, you guys probably have a lot of time in your hands and you don't mind sinking hundreds of hours into the video game and you're having fun while doing it. That's fine. But ultimately, you cannot deny that the game was made with the XP boost in mind in order to try and push people to get that XP boost. Can you still finish the game without it? Sure. Is it going to be as enjoyable? Not according to Chris Plante. But anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. This is pretty much how I feel about the game as well. I feel that those microtransactions are ridiculous, especially for a $60 game. It's like I said, I could tolerate all of the cosmetic stuff, I could tolerate that. Hell, I could even tolerate them selling some of the armors that actually have an influence on in-game, like being able to buy weapons and whatnot, but selling something like an experience booster is fucking nefarious, okay? And once again, on Jason Schreier, hot take here where he says, it's sad how YouTube facilitates this culture where people toss around words like exploitative and predatory without really thinking about what they mean. You mean it's sad that people have freedom of speech? Come on, dude. I hope that anyone that wants to disagree with me still has a voice on YouTube and is allowed to express that voice to disagree with me. This right here almost teeters on the brink of censorship, but I'm not going to say that's what you intend because it probably isn't. But you need to consider how you phrase your posts, especially when you're criticizing people throwing around words like exploitative and predatory, when basically what you're saying here can be boiled down to censorship. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you guys didn't enjoy it, hit the dislike button. That's what it's there for. Feedback, extremely important. Leave me all your comments and that precious feedback in the comment section below. If you do enjoy my videos though, and you want to be notified when the next video comes up, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell icon so that you're actually notified. Here's 2 video suggestions that you guys might enjoy. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.